Recording in progress.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. Start करें. कितने स्टूडेंट कितने भाई? किसी ने एंट्री भी दी है कैसे में बोलेगा? चलो. Okay, assalamu alaikum and good morning to everybody. Today our topic is related to the short stature related to the bone disease. First of all, what is a short stature? The short stature is defined when the height is below third centile or less than second deviation below the median height for the age, sex, and according to the population standard. Population standard means that every country has its own centiles. If you think about USA, usually they are tall as compared to Chinese and Bangladesh, the people are short. So they have different centile for different country, different parts of the world. So these centiles applied for different areas and will have different values. So one cannot apply the centile charts all over at one time. If you are, this Pakistan centile is usually at 50th centile of the Americans. Are you getting me? There the people are tall because of many reasons, because of the diet, because of the environment. Okay, it is not only the below third centile, but if the growth velocity is decreased below 25th centile, which has been observed by the 6 to 12 months. What we do whenever the child comes to your OPD, you take the height. Okay, if it is below or it is normal, you have to plot and you have to do this after every 3 months to see the velocity. If the velocity is not increasing up to the standard, it is below 25 centile, we also label as a short stature. In the world, around 3% of the children population will be short. Approximately 50% will be physiological and 50% will have pathological short stature. So whenever you get a short stature, first on examination you have to identify it is a proportional short stature or it is an unproportional short stature. It is very important. It is important because certain conditions are related only to the proportional short stature as compared to the disproportionate. You have to take the upper and the lower segment. Okay? You can take by the standing height and by the sitting height. Then you have to take the ratio. At birth, the ratio is between 1 to 1.17. And at the age of 3 years, it is usually around 1 to 1.3. And at the age of 7 years, the ratio is equal. It means that the upper segment and the lower segment are equal at the age of 7 years. Plus, you also have to take the arm span. How do we take the arm span? We ask the patient to extend the hands. Okay? And then on the wall. And then you have to take the arm to arm length and you have to take the height. This should also be equal. So there are, as already said, there are different reasons for proportional short statures. It can be normal variant, it can be due to familial or constitutional growth delay, it can be due to intrauterine growth retardation or any placental infection like torch infection, genetic chromosome, any metabolic disorder, usually do have a proportionate short stature. If the patient is undernourished, which is one of the most important cause of short stature in this part of the world. Other causes are any chronic illness like cardiovascular, we can have congenital heart disease, we can, in the respiratory, we can have cystic fibrosis, in the GIT, we can have IBD or celiac disease, in the renal, we can have CKD or renal tubular acidosis. In the liver, we can have any cause due to chronic liver failure. In the hematological cause, we have number of cases of thalassemia in this part of world. Plus sickle cell anemia is also not very uncommon here. Any chronic illness can cause short stature. Psychological short stature is also very important, and it is also not very less often. And the endocrine cause, as you know, that growth hormone, hypothyroidism, diabetes, Cushing syndrome, pseudo-hypoparathyroidism, and precocious or delayed puberty. These can all have short stature. If you just take, if you see the short stature, if you see that the patient is emaciated and short stature, it is mostly likely due to some chronic illness or due to malnutrition. But if you get a patient with short stature which is somewhat obese, the most likely cause is endocrine. This is not accurate, but most of the time it is true that if it is obese and short stature, it is endocrine, and if it is slim and short stature, it is due to some systemic illness or due to malnutrition. So if you get this, we were talking, this was around about the proportionate short stature. Now there are number of causes of disproportionate short stature, in which we have bony dysplasias on top, and we have number of bony dysplasias. You don't have to know each and every of them, but the most common which we usually see, we will talk about that. One is the osteogenic imperfecta, which is more common, and we also have achondroplasia. We usually see outside the hotels and all these areas where you would have seen that there are people closing the door with short stature, having, and usually they have very different, or they have some dysmorphic features. So there are other causes also like mucopolysaccharidosis, mucolipids. We will talk little about that. So these are the causes of the short stature. Hypothyroidism is also one of the cause. It is the only disorder of the endocrine which have disproportionate. It can have a proportionate as well as a disproportionate short stature. So what is this skeletal dysplasia? Because the topic is this semester is on the bone. So we will talk more about the bone diseases in this topic. So very briefly regarding the skeletal dysplasia, it is a group of congenital anomalies of the bone and cartilage that are characterized by the short stature and with other features also. What happens that there is some molecular genetic causes. There is a deformity of the bone. There can be molecular genetic disorders. There can be abnormal biochemical characteristic of essential bone components such as collagen, hydroxypeptide. There may be changes in the shape and structure of the skeleton, and that can be functional adaptation also. It can be due to the hormonal or metabolic or enzymatic disorders, or it may be due to the teratogenic influence in the critical sensitive period of pregnancy. Osteogenic imperfecta, we less often see, but we do see this type of bony disease in our OPDs and in PH department. It is also called the brittle bone disease. They have a characteristic of short stature, along with they may have a long finger toe. This is due to the thinning of the bone. They can have a brachydactyly. They have a short finger. Toes appears due to the premature growth plate closure. They have a hook-like deformity of the femur. They can have a blue sclera. They have a dental problems, bluish gray to yellow, brown teeth, malformed dentin leading to the easy chipping, and there can be severe caries in this patient because of the malalignment of the teeth. On X-ray, you will get a deformed bone. As I already said, you will get a hook-like deformity of the femur. You can get a sclera, and there can be multiple fractures. There are different types. There are 4 different types of osteogenic imperfecta, and depend upon the severity. The type 4 is more severe, and type 3 is also severe, but not that much. And type 1 is a fatal. They usually die in the intrauterine life. If the X-ray is done, we see multiple fractures of the ribs, of the femur, of the tibia, everywhere. And they have, because of this, they are very fatal sometimes, because if the ribs are damaged, so there is a compromise in the respiration, there is a compromise in the heart, that can lead to recurrent infection, and they usually don't survive. Usually they have a osteopenic. They are osteopenic. There's no such treatment, but we give biphosphonate to these patients after every 3 months. That does cause some improvement in the strength of the bone, but is not a curative. This, you are talking achondroplasia. You must have seen in the streets, especially outside the hotels, who are closing and opening the doors and asking for your tips. This is usually due to the abnormalities of the cartilage. The mutation occurring around 1 to 1 in 25,000, and the problem starts in the fetus. The average height does not exceed more than 4 feet, but usually it is less than that. And usually they are transferred from the parents. Most of them have the same intelligence, except if the patient have hydrocephalus. They will have some low IQ, but usually most of them have normal intelligence. Although there is no cure, they have a club feet that make them walking hard, and they have a different gait as compared to normal. Because of the bone deformity, there are more chances of ear infection, and there can be hearing loss also. There can be respiratory tract infection because of the difficult breathing, because of the different anatomy due to bone deformity. The average life is around 40 to 50 years of achondroplasia. Okay, now we will talk something about mucopolysaccharidosis. This is a genetic disorders, and it is due to the deficiency of enzyme necessary for the breakdown of breakdowns, which resulting in a mucopolysaccharidosis disease. There is excessive accumulation of the mucopolysaccharides in the body. They can affect the brain, they can affect the bone, they can affect the viscera, they can affect the heart. So almost all systems are affected due to this accumulation of mucopolysaccharides. They can have a serious physical disorders. They have a skeletal deformity. They have a coarse features of the face. They can have mental retardation. And because of that, the life expectancy is decreased in these patients. The signs are hepatomegaly, splenomegaly. There can be large tongue. There can be retinal pigmentation. There can be hip dysregulation because of the problems in the spine. There can be kyphosis. There can be heart murmurs. There can be damage to the valve in the heart. There are different types. These are the main type, but there are different variants of MPS, which I have not shown here. The major are the Hurler, Hunter, Shy, Sanfilippo, Marcuse, and Matrix and Sly syndrome. They have different. They are different from different, but it is very difficult to identify each of them. They are different because all have different enzyme deficiencies. Some only affects the bone, and some affects all the part of the body. So the spectrum of the disease, like the Hurler, it is the more severe type. We have the Hurler size and we have a size. In Hurler, we have a severe development delay as compared to the Hurler side. We have a little or no intellectual defects. In Sky, we have normal intelligence. Hurler are more progressive. They have severe respiratory disease. They have severe obstructive airway disease, and they usually die before the age of 10 years. As compared to Hurler side, they have little or no intellectual deficit. Respiratory disease are less severe than Hurler type. So as the cardiovascular, they have a body stiffness contraction, they have a decreased visual acuity, and they usually die within 10 to 20 years. In the Sky, they are normal intelligent, less progressive, there can be clouding of the cornea. There is joint stiffness, but not that much. Valvular heart disease are present, and they usually die at the age of 40. What happened to the Hurler? It is due to the deficiency of the alpha L iodinidase enzyme. As already said, that they usually presents with splenomegaly, hepatomegaly. You can see these coarse fishes. You can see this prominent of the rib cage. They looks like severe rickets or RTA. As already said, there is a deficiency. It is an autosomal recessive condition, and it is due to the accumulation of the mucopolysaccharides in the body. This other feature, you can see the facial coarse features. You can see this baby with respiratory distress. There can be protruding of the tongue. You can see the deformity of the bones and short stature, of course. Okay. Here you can see the umbilical hernia, you can see the corneal clouding, glaucoma, and this is the claw hand deformity. These are all the features of mucopolysaccharidosis which you can have in Hurler, Sky, and Sky syndrome. So these children development is low. They have coarse, thick facial feature with low nasal bridge. Here you can see this nasal bridge is depressed, and there's a prominent dark eyebrows. There can be progressive stiffness, and there can be mental retardation. They have short stature, full lip with large tongue. They have increased body hairs. There are chances of deafness, stiffness, shortness of breath, and abnormal bone of the spine, and they have a claw-like hands. The incidence is between 1:150,000 in infant. Newborns, usually they appear normal at birth, but the symptoms appear, the sign appears after or after 6 months of age. So there's increased excretion of the dermatan sulfate and heparin sulfate in the urine, and there is a deficiency of the enzyme alpha-L-iduronidase. Culture of the cell from the amniotic fluid obtained by amniocentesis for the enzyme testing, it is possible, so you can identify prenatally. So you also get metochromasia in the white blood cells. You have a very typical X-ray skeleton, skeletal spine, and X-ray chest and ECG. So for prevention, genetic counseling is important, prenatal diagnosis, and we don't have any cure for type 1, Hurler type. This is very unfortunate. Type 2, it is due to the sulfoiodinase sulfatase deficiency. They usually have similar features of like Hurler, not all of them, but they usually appears, they have some signs later in a later age group, around 3 to 4 years. This you can see the X-ray of the wrist, in which you can see this bullet type metacarpal bones. It is an X-linked disease. It has a porous, thick facies. There may be progressive stiffness, decreased mental development. There you can get hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, and abnormal bone X-rays. Type 3 is called Sanfilippo syndrome. They have late onset, around 8 to 9 years. They have less severe problems, but usually they present with the like they just present like ADHD. They are very hyperactive. It is usually due to the heparin sulfate that is problem in this case. It is also an autosomal recessive condition and usually late onset. So there is a coarse, thick facial features, prominent dark eyebrows, progressive stiffness, there can be gait disturbance, there can be speech disturbance, decreased mental development that progress to severe mental retardation, and they are very hyperactive. They have very hyperactive behavior. If these patients come to your clinic, they will give you a tough time. They will not sit at a place, and they will do whatever they want to do. They will stare up on your chair or on your table, everywhere. The good thing about this is that we have enzyme replacement for this Sanfilippo, and plus also Hurler. We also have second and third, we have an enzyme replacement, although it is very expensive. And this testing is not done here. The sample from previously, the sample was sent to India. But now, because of the relation with India, we are not able to send this sample to India. So we are stuck now, these days, because of this COVID and all these things, and relation with India. So Sanfilippo, usually they have a hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, the cornea is clear. The echocardiogram show a thickening of the heart wall. They can have a seizures, mental retardation. Urine may have increased heparin sulfate, and already said in the white blood cell there will be a metochromasia. This is thickening. You can see this metochromasia in this patient. So they can have a severe diarrhea or constipation, severe hearing loss, hyperactivity, aggressive and destructive behavior. They have a poor attention. All the features that of ADHD are there. In this patient, there can be physical aggression, there can be delay in the speech and language, there is sleep disturbance, severe intellectual impairment more often before the age of 6 years. There can be mild growth retardation and vision impairment. This is another X-ray of Mercury. So this is Mercury, okay? Mercury is usually affects the bones. It does not affect the mental and does not affect the viscerals also. Usually it is confined to the bone disease. You can see this bullet type. You must have seen the bullet. This is a bullet type metacarpal bones. You can see this flattening of the vertebra. Mercuries are divided into two, type 1 and type B. Okay. There is a joint stiffness, mild growth retardation, stiff joint that may not extend fully without mental retardation. We also have our treatment now with enzyme replacement. Although it is very costly, that usually costs, if you talk about in Pakistan, it is more than 1 lakh per month. Another, we have the Martius-Lambe syndrome. It also affects the bone, the viscera, and the mental, but they are of mild type. So already said there is a replacement of the enzymes of type 2, type 3, type 6, and type 7. As already discussed, this all mucopolysaccharidosis is also confusion. We also get confused whenever we see the patients because it is very difficult to identify and to remember what features are common in which one. Because we don't have an easy assessment for the enzymes. So we categorize this patient clinically. So this is a chart. As you can see, on the left side, you can see this name, this disease, the things, the signs, and you see the type on the top. This is the way we usually pick up the type of mucopolysaccharidosis. This is the main thing. You don't have to learn all these things, but you should have an idea. Okay, once you get this type of patient, then you can categorize by opening this chart also. You cannot remember this thing. We also don't remember. Because this patient usually come around, we see this patient 2 to 3 patients in a year, not more than that. Okay, something we will talk about the rickets. You must be very much knowing about the rickets, but very briefly, it is defined as a failure of calcification of the osteoid in the growth person. It is a general disorder of the metabolic affecting chiefly the growing bones due to deficiency of active form of vitamin D 125 hydroxy vitamin D. The essential changes of the bones are decalcification of the normal bones, as you know, formation of imperfectly calcified bone, and widening and enlargement of the epiphyseal end of long bones. The skeletal muscle and the nervous system are sometimes affected because of the severity. As you all know that D3 cholecalciferol, which is of animal origin and produced by the action of ultraviolet on 7-hydroxy cholesterol in the skin, and D2 ergogastrone, which is a part of the plant origin produced by the action of ultraviolet on the ergogastrol in the plant. They both types are biologically inactive, so they hydroxylate in the liver to 25-hydroxy. Then they go into the kidney, where it is active form that is 125. This is all the story. You must all be knowing these things. So what does the vitamin D do? It promotes the calcium and the phosphorus absorption in the small gut. It increases the calcium and the phosphorus absorption in the kidneys, and it directly affects of the mineral metabolism of the bone and deposition and reabsorption. So how does it present? It usually presents if the age is between 3 to 6 months. They usually present with the head swelling. They can be irritable in the days and sleepless in the night. Advanced rickets, there can be delayed motor development, sitting, standing, and walking. If there is a deficiency of the vitamin D, it decreases the absorption of the calcium and the phosphorus from the gut, decrease calcium in the blood, so there will be increase in the PTH and mobilization of the calcium and phosphorus from the bone, and decreased tubular resorption of the phosphate in the kidney. There can be normal or low calcium, and there will be low phosphorus. There will be decreased calcium available for the bone. Calcium and phosphorus will be far below normal, and there will be a failure of calcification. In the skin, in the skull, you can get craniotabes. There can be a frontal and parietal bone bossing. You can get a flat occipital. In the chest, you can get a Harrison sulcus, pigeon shape, and ricketty rosary. In the extremities, you can get widening of the wrist, bowing, and knock knee. You can see this frontal bossing and parietal bossing. You can see this Harrison sulcus. You can see this deformity of the chest. In a nutshell, you get a protruding forehead, pigeon-shaped chest. You get a depressed ribs. You get an enlarged epiphyseal at the wrist, protuberant abdomen, enlarged epiphyseal at angle. You can get a large head, curved humerus, kyphosis, curved radius in ulna, curved femur, and curved tibia and fibula. These are all the features of rickets. You can also get a knock knee. If you go for the X-ray, you will get triad of broadening of the joint, and you can get a cupping, that is concavity, and you will get a frying, irregular of the lower end of the radius and ulna. There will be increased distance between the distal end of the radius and ulna, and there may be hypodensity of the bone. You get a fracture and deformity may be present at the looser zone. There is evidence of healing in the X-ray between second to third week. What are the complications of rickets? You can get a tetany. You can get a recurrent chest infection because of the chest deformity. You can get a vitamin D deficiency, essential for the integrity of epithelium, surface of the respiratory mucosa, effective function of the immunity system, especially the T cells. There you get a fracture of the bones, deformity of the bones. How will you treat? You will treat with giving vitamin D daily. If you get a rickets, you can give oral or you can give vitamin D 6 lakhs unit. If the age is more than 1 year, and 3 lakhs unit, international unit IM, if the age is less than 1 year. And you have to do X-ray, and there will be some healing in that X-ray after 3 weeks of injection treatment. Calcium may be low or maybe normal. You will get a low phosphorus level, and there will be increase in the alkaline phosphatase. The D3 level will be reduced. So there is a classification of rickets also. It can be due to the nutrition. It can be due to the malabsorption, it can be due to hepatic disease, anticonvulsants, renal osteodystrophy, it can be due to the vitamin D dependent type, or it can be vitamin D resistant type, which is called phosphatase. You can also get rickets in cases of Fanconi syndrome, irritable acidosis, hypophosphatemia, and phosphate deficiencies. So something about the vitamin D dependent, it is due to the reduced activity of the 25-hydroxy alpha hydroxy enzyme that activate vitamin D. Vitamin D is a genetic deficiency variant in the enzyme that converts calcidol to calciferol in the kidney. It is an autosomal recessive condition. And this condition, we usually give the treatment is calciferol and vitamin D for the treatment of vitamin D dependent. In type 2 type of vitamin D, there is a receptor problems. There are receptor problems, and 50% of the patient do have alopecia. They present with the hypocalcemia and usually have normal phosphatemic. So there are severe mutant for this, may respond to high oral calcium intake plus calciocalciferol. In Fanconi, this is, I think so we should not consider. You can get, this is due to the renal phosphate wasting along with the aminoglycosides, Fanconi syndrome. We can osteogenic dystrophy because if there is an end stage of renal disease, so there will be a problem in the conversion of hydroxy to 25-hydroxy that can lead to hypocalcemia and osteoid calcification. Management of this patient include low phosphate intake and calciferol. There's a condition called hypophosphatasia. It is an autosomal recessive condition in which you get a decrease in the absence of the alkaline phosphatase. So, American Academy of Pediatrics has recommended that vitamin A should be given to all the newborns till the age of 6 months, at least 6 months. And some have recommended for 1 year also. Usually it should be started after the 2 weeks of birth. This is also the classical feature of vitamin D. You can appreciate this knock-knee and this deformity of the bones, this bowing of the bones. It is usually considered normal till the age of 2 years. But it is normal till the age of 2 years. If you examine a patient with bowing of leg, in the age more than that, one should be concerned and should always exclude rickets in this patient. Although there are other differential diagnoses also for these things. So thank you for being patient till then. So if you have any question, please write on the text. Sawal? कोई सवाल कंप्यूटर चाहते ऐसे चाहे कुछ नहीं
मैं भी आ रहा हूँ मैं आ रहा हूँ ऑफिस ठीक है
till the age of 2 years the bowing of flank is considered as a normal. Okay, any other questions you want to ask? But it also depends on the severity. If the bowing is very severe, we have to think early. But usually, if this is a mild type of bowing, we consider up to 2 years, it is normal. yes, this you have to actually. Our topic today was around regarding the bone. This is a topic of short stature related to the familial short stature. So I have not included in this topic, but of course, the parents do affects the parents' height do affects the children. So there is a formula for parents' height. Usually it is said that if the girl's height is related to the father, she may be little shorter than the father. As compared to the male, it is usually taller than the mother. It depends upon the mother height more than the father height. But there is a formula, I don't remember at present. Whenever you come to the word, I will discuss with you. There's a formula in which we can plot the mother height with the father height plus 8. I think so. If I'm not wrong, mother height and father height plus 8, you will get a height for your child. But I have to again have to see this formula. I don't remember at present. If it is below that, then we will label as pathological. But I already in my first slide I have told you that it is below third centile. Okay, na? So usually, if you apply that formula also, you can pick the pathological type of short stature. It is due to the, as already told you, there's a deficiency of the enzyme. Alpha L arenadase deficiency. Okay, na? Because of this enzyme deficiency, there is accumulation of this mucopolysaccharidose in the body, different part of the body, in which you can get a mental retardation, body deformity, and visceromegaly. It also affects the eyes. There will be corneal opacity. Any other question? Yes, you can get both. You can get okay, Lafis. Hopefully we will meet soon. Things goes better and you stay healthy. Okay, take care everybody. Allah Hafiz. Okay, time.